AAT Birds Weekly Report is the Eagle news, notes, and analysis you need. It's all birds, all the time.
How about them Eagles?
And welcome to the AAT Birds recap. Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 59 to play the Kansas City Chiefs as they drub the Commanders 55-23. Absolutely beautiful. You know, you had the point where it started to get a little bit close, but Eagles just then pulled away. You know, turnovers, the big time thing is getting the turnovers, and it's what they did. They won the turnover battle 4-0. So that was huge in there, but all in all, I'll say is Jalen Hurts proved to you why he's quarterback one for this team. He did it through the air, did it on the ground. You know, this team is just – they have they're destined. And the thing is, they have their mindset on that Lombardi trophy. And, you know, yeah, there were smiles and they were happy after they won this game. But they know the focus is there. They know that there's one more step to take to be enshrined in football immortality.
Yeah, there's a lot to take away from this championship game, and we're excited. You know, we got 2 weeks, so next week we'll dive into the Super Bowl preview
the game and everything like that.
But let me just say a couple of things. Number one, let's talk about the fact of the talk was that Jalen Hurts isn't going to make that much of a difference, and GJ needs to control himself, and that's why this Philadelphia Eagles team. And there wasn't really a reason why they lost. Well, you know what? It showed that it was the reason why they lost to Washington all those weeks back. And I was actually fine with that because it reinvigorated the team. You saw how good our defense was, even from that first drive where they had to take 18 plays to dip and dunk their way down the field, followed by a complete punch in the mouth with Saquon Barkley doing Saquon Barkley things. You mentioned the turnovers. Not only did they win the turnover battle 4-0, they have not turned the ball over in the postseason at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's unheard of for a team that, you know, did struggle with that a little bit the end of last season, the beginning of this season. We have not turned the ball over at all. Breaking the record of, you know, no quarterback that's lost his first appearance in the Super Bowl. You know who does? Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts goes back.
First time it's happened since 1992. Jim Kelly did it with the Buffalo Bills. So, and
I mean, this team is just – they're firing on all cylinders. So even when they were able to slow down Jalen Carter, you know, Jordan Davis stepped up. You saw Quinyon Mitchell make an absolutely stupid interception.
Nolan Smith, another sack.
Nolan Smith playing out of his mind. Oren Burks playing out of his mind. I've said this now for quite a few months, where this team gives off vibes of the Super Bowl winning team, where it was the next man up mentality. And you saw it with Landon Dickerson starting the game at center because Cam Jurgens was banged up. And Landon Dickerson fought his way to halftime. I mean, he was injured. He was hurt. And I'm sure we're going to get, you know, he's got 2 weeks to recuperate. He's not playing in the Super Bowl. We already knew that. But then Cam Jurgens stepped up back into his position. You know, Tyler Steen played a great game. I mean, this team just continues to step up every single which way. And you love to see it. This Eagles team, you mentioned the D word, the destiny word. I don't want to do that. I just want to put out there that if any team is going to stop the Kansas City Chiefs from a three-peat, it is these Philadelphia Eagles.
And, you know, the other thing, too, is looking at this game. And, again, also, a little fact for you is the Eagles win a Super Bowl and Jalen Hurts gets the win. He will be the first quarterback since 1997, John Elway, to win a Super Bowl after losing the first time going to a Super Bowl. And the thing is, too, this game and everything, I'll tell you this right now, and I'm going to say it right now because they're playing against probably the best coach in Eagles history as of right now. But if the Eagles were to win this game, I think it cements you of saying that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are both the best head coach and best quarterback in franchise history. And I will not be slighted to say that. I wouldn't be like, maybe. It would be an absolute definite, in my opinion. I know they've only been here for 5 years, 6 years, but I'm sorry.
I think that's a fair assessment, Johnny, because Andy Reid got to one Super Bowl, never got back. Dick Vermeil got to one Super Bowl, never got back. Doug Peterson got to one Super Bowl, won it, but never got back. This is Nick Sirianni's second Super Bowl. So
in 3 years.
Second in 3 years, he's always made the playoffs. I mean, Nick Sirianni is – he's going to go down as the best coach in Eagles history. Simply because of if he wins one. I mean, right now it's still Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Right now the best quarterback is still Donovan. I think winning the Super Bowl ends a lot of this conversation. It's the same conversation that you and I had a couple of weeks ago when I asked you point blank, if this Eagles team wins a Super Bowl, is this the best Eagles defense of all time? And I'm rocking my Reggie White, my Jerome Brown patch. I mean, I have to ask the question.
What I'll say is, depends on what the Super Bowl looks like, I guess, a little bit. But I will say this defense, and I've seen a couple people mention it, and there's a lot that's very telling when you look at this. The defense kind of gives off the Legion of Boom type of aura. A very good defensive line. They've got some good pass rushers, great linebacker play. The secondary, of course, is the main thing with that. And the secondary of the Eagles is very talented and top notch there. So it gives you off vibes of potentially, listen, if the Eagles win, it's going to be the best Eagles team of all time.
This is the thing, because even the Super Bowl winning team was made up of a bunch of guys stepping up out of their comfort zone, right? Yeah. It's Holly Koulibaly Vaitai stepping up for Jason Peters. Right? It's all these guys stepping up. This is the team that was built this way. They were built this way. And for them to be in the postseason now, as healthy as they are going into the Super Bowl, it's insane. Yeah.
And look, I think, too, you look at this game against the Commanders. They were able to get A.J. the ball. Devontae had a couple of nice catches. Dallas Goedert stepped up big. There was some – and I think
that's a running back.
Listen, I thought that was very clever and creative to have Devontae and Dallas do kind of some jet sweep type of actions, because that puts another wrinkle into the offense.
Yeah.
For looking towards the Kansas City Chiefs and what they have to put on tape and be able to prepare for. So when you look at Jalen Hurts and this offense and what he was able to do through the air, and of course we know what they're able to do on the ground. Saquon had that humongous run to start the game, outstanding. They checked to that run, and they're able to do that. And listen, it's just, they're able to do so many different things. And then if you want to stack the box and do certain things differently, they have the guys on the outside, whether it's Devontae, AJ, Dallas Goedert, Saquon in the pass game, Kenny Gainwell in the pass game. They've got other options that they're able to throw at you. So to me, it was just, I think another thing too, when you look at this Eagles team, the way the defense played Jaden Daniels and the Commanders.
Yeah.
And listen, I understand Zach Ertz had a really good game, but
he did. Tight ends are going to, when you go into the Super Bowl, we most of the time we struggle with tight ends. Now we've been pretty lucky this year to shut people down, but I expect Travis Kelce to have a decently solid game.
Yeah. And if you're having, listen, if Zach Ertz did what he did, a lot of short passes, stuff like that, that's fine. I think he had like 11 catches for like 100 yards. So it wasn't any, game-breaking 30, 40-yard runs. But, yeah, and of course, McLaurin had that one, I think, 32-yard catch. But they held him in check. Probably the best receiver they're going to see they're not going to see a receiver better than Terry McLaurin in the Super Bowl. Like
DeAndre Hopkins is old. He's not going to do those things.
Hollywood Brown was coming off an injury. He's an okay player. Xavier Worthy is a speedster. You've got to watch for him and stuff. They have some good players. But again, McLaurin was the best player. And you have, Quinyon had the great interception. And it's just, they were able to play. And the thing I love about watching this Eagles defense, and especially during this game, it's just how they flow to the ball. And
yes,
Yami Brown goes across the middle there. Cooper DeJean gets him, wraps him up, and then you see Zach Bond come and punch it out, the peanut punch.
Yeah.
And they did a couple of those. And absolutely
you saw that, Johnny, on the opening kickoff when Will Shipley blew it up.
Yeah, Will Shipley, hell of a game. And I was glad to see him get a touchdown at the end of the game there after that long run.
As soon as he got going, I was like, he's not sliding. He's not going down.
And you know what's awesome about this team? And just like you watch it, when Shipley scored, Saquon threw his helmet on, ran on the field to celebrate with him. Like, it was stuff like that. You just see how connected this team is and how focused they are. And it's just so
and from there,
you should love this team so much more.
Right. Like, you look at this team and like you mentioned, Saquon's excited for Will Shipley. You've got, like I said, Jordan Davis stepping up. You've had Oren Burke stepping up. You've had Zach Bond, who, again, I think should be Defensive Player of the Year.
I would agree.
I think the only thing that could stop him is name recognition. I truly do. But you go from that excitement feeling.
I like that you brought that up because I do have a little bit of.
All right, well, wait, let me finish my point. And then, but
I'm going to bring it up. Open it up. I got to find
it. Piece. You go from the excitement piece to then seeing Jeffrey Lurie on the sideline, and as excited as he is that his Commanders team that the Eagles team beat the crap out of the Commanders 55-23, the message was simple: one more. He says it at the podium. He says it on the sideline. They say it in the locker room. This is a team that is excited by what they were able to do, but they know what they have to do moving forward.
I would agree with you. I got to find it.
Name recognition, Zach Bond. What do you got for me?
So let me look at it here because I know I brought it up. Maybe I did it in a reply. Because I'm going to look up because they had the list of all the finalists for. Just see if I can find it because I had a pretty good point when you look at all the finalists of the Defensive Player of the Year. So let me see what I have here. Okay. So Defensive Player of the Year. So of course you have all right, let me bring it out right here. So you have Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Pat Surtain II, TJ Watt. The way I said Bond should easily win with the way the Eagles defense turned it around. Correct. Now, Patrick Surtain had a very, very good season on a pretty talented defense with the Broncos. I get that. But when you look at the other guys, Hendrickson, yes, had a great year. I believe he led the league in
sacks, I believe, right?
The Bengals defense stunk. They weren't very good. They fired the defensive coordinator. They weren't very good. Myles Garrett, he's a freak. I get that. But Cleveland was the second worst team in the league. How do you give Defensive Player of the Year to a team that stunk? They're the number 2 overall pick.
Because it's so on that point, in my opinion.
There's one more. Then you go. Then you go. So Watt is a candidate every year. He was also held sackless the final month of the year. Now you go ahead.
And to me, Offensive Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year are individual awards, right? MVP should be who is the best player on his team that led his team to wins. And that's why I could see, from the regular season, Josh Allen. I could see from the regular season. I don't think that Lamar Jackson should be in the conversation because he had a Derrick Henry. I think that Saquon Barkley literally carried his team. So in my, homer opinion, I think that Saquon Barkley should be the MVP. He won't be. I think he should absolutely. Right. MVP is going to be Josh Allen. Offensive Player of the Year should be Saquon Barkley, but I'm sure that, Jamar Chase, wasn't he the Triple Crown winner for the catches or something? He's a candidate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you talk about defense, I do think that Myles Garrett, he set all kinds of records and being the first guy to blah, 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 blah. And there's the name recognition. But when you look at historically, like when Luke Kuechly won Defensive Player of the Year.
Bond's having a better year than Luke Kuechly.
Our stats are better. And the team performed better because of it.
So let me look this up because there was one that back in, let me see, it had to do with Seth Joyner because Seth Joyner finished second in Defensive Player of the Year. Let me see, it was right. Yeah. In 1991, he had 110 tackles, 6.5 sacks. He had 2 defensive touchdowns, 4 fumble recoveries, 6 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions. And he finished second in Defensive Player of the Year. He was 5th in MVP. He got a vote for the MVP, which is crazy. So he was second in Defensive Player of the Year. Now, his teammate Reggie White was third, but the winner was Pat Swilling, who had
of course.
17 sacks. Again, a team that in the New Orleans Saints that finished 11-5. So it was a team that was a winning record, 17 sacks, had an interception.
So if you're going to do that, then create an award.
So, yeah.
Create an award for the guy that leads the league in sacks. And then Myles Garrett and TJ Watt and Trey Hendrickson, they can fight over that award. They can call it the Reggie White Memorial Sack Trophy. You know what I mean? But if you're talking about overall most impactful Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think any of them come close to Zach Bond.
And I think, too, you look at the way Zach Bond signed as a one-year free agent. People thought he was going to be a special teams. I thought he was going to be a special teams and a rotational edge rusher. That's what I thought when they signed him.
Johnny, when you and I talked, we said, oh, they signed Zach Bond. There is video of me saying, who is this guy? That's not a needle mover. What are we doing here? The linebacking position was not addressed. There is video of it. You can pull it up. It is the worst take on the planet. You at least gave him edge rusher status.
I think, too, is they signed Zach Bond. Later on, they wind up going inside in Devin White, and then Devin White's not starting. Zach Bond, who was an edge rusher, and especially we're starting, and we're thinking, interesting. I wonder why they're – and lo and behold, Vic Fangio knows what he's doing. So we can't really discredit what he wants to do, why they did what they did, and, I'll just go from there. But he definitely deserves it.
It gives credit to Howie once again.
What?
It gives credit to Howie once again.
Yeah, it absolutely gives him credit. And just the way that you look at this team and you look at both teams, and we'll get more into this next week when you look at both teams from the Super Bowls 57 and 59 and the way the defense has been totally reshaped and, reconfigured by Howie and the way that they did that. So we'll get into more of that. But like looking at this game and just seeing watching this defense play against a talented quarterback in Jaden Daniels, and of course Nolan Smith 4 sacks this postseason, and Jalex Hunt is starting to come alive, and he's looking pretty good. Of course, you have Milton Williams doing what he does best. He had one guy literally
he played great too,
all the way into the quarterback. Of course, Jordan Davis had a really awesome sack in a big point in the game. Jalen Carter, doing what Jalen Carter does, and Moro Jomo stepping up as well. They've got so much talent. And, Josh Sweat just been, unfortunately, I don't believe they're going to be able to keep him, but he has taken a tough year in 23, and he's really revitalized himself and is playing some wonderful football. So it's just this team as a whole, they play so well together. They fly to the ball. They flock to the ball, if you want to say it. It's a little bit better that way. But it's just –
they swoop to the ball.
They swoop to the ball. No, but just when you see – when you see someone get a screen pass and you see all those green jerseys fly to that ball carrier, it's just that's what the Eagles defense is right now. And that's what this team is right now. And it's a reason they've won so many games after the bye week and the reason that they're in the position that they're in.
Yeah. And you look, we sat here a week ago trying to rationalize a close game. I said 27-24. You said
27-20.
Nobody expected this Eagles offense, which had been stuck in neutral for a month outside of when Tanner McKee played, to put up 55 points. It was over. It was close up until the half, and then it was just all of a sudden over.
Yeah.
There wasn't to me, there wasn't a defining moment where everybody went, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. All of a sudden, the score was just huge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, and again, we'll talk about this next week, this Chiefs team is probably the worst rendition of the Chiefs in the last couple of years, in my opinion. And we'll break it down a little closer next week. But right now, if this Eagles team shows up, I don't see any team in the NFL stopping them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. If they play the game, they played the way that they played, they're unstoppable. They're firing all cylinders.
Unflappable, if you will.
Unflappable. But no, it's just it's fun. I think another thing too is it's really fun to be able to keep talking about the team and the game recaps this late in the year. It was fun doing it in 22. Able to go through that season and last year.
That was a Super Bowl that they almost won. Let's call a spade here.
Yeah.
That was a Super Bowl that they almost won. That Jalen Hurts almost won MVP in a losing effort.
Remember, defensive players, make sure you're wearing white gloves.
So it blends in. And make sure James Bradbury doesn't even get on the flight to New Orleans.
He'll be there. It's okay.
I know he will.
But I don't know. I just think you're right. They were super close. Everything was there for the taking. And
that was before Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. No, you're right. They weren't able to really run the ball. It's just Jalen kind of ran the ball a little bit, but they passed the ball.
Saquon Barkley. That was before having linebackers. That was before having two lockdown corners.
I saw. I don't want to recap.
That was before. I'll go one further. That was before having Mekhi Becton at right guard.
Yeah, you're right.
What a move that was.
And listen, this game is going to be played in New Orleans on turf, so I got to worry about the sod father. I don't worry about that garbage. But
that was awful.
I think too is just like it's hard because that game was the Bradbury hold. You had Jerick McKinnon running. You think he's going to score to give you a little bit of time to score. He goes down, and then they of course get the field goal. But even before that, they're up 24-21 in the third quarter with 6 minutes and change running down, and you throw that deep ball, and Quez Watkins gets turned around and tries to catch it an awkward way. It's just there's so many different things there that
we don't have a Quez Watkins level receiver that we rely on.
Yeah, you had a 10-point lead at half, like all this stuff. Which, listen, I know Sirianni and all is going to go over all of these moments and these things that happen. This team is going to be ready. They're going to be focused. They're going to be fired up, and I think the Chiefs are getting a better Eagles team than they got back in 2022. So
I agree.
And again, like I said, we'll break it all down, but I just wanted to do a quick recap of the NFC Championship game. It is absolutely crazy the way this season has unfolded.
Let's be fair about the Commanders real quick.
They're an up-and-coming team. You have to.
They're an up-and-coming team. They're going to be back. Jaden Daniels was a rookie quarterback who did things that were unheard of. There's going to be a sophomore drop-off. That's just what happens. But at the same time, that game was really never in doubt. Like, I understand that, the score was what it was at half, but that game was never really in doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, after halftime when the Eagles had the ball and they didn't do anything and they gave the ball back to Washington, you thought, so if they score, they'll make it even closer. And of course you have those thoughts in there and everything, but Eagles were able to, hold them. It's just, different things that happens with this team's like, listen, when I watch a game, I can, get a little anxious and, you get that nervousness and stuff like, even though you're not even playing, you're just watching.
It's because how many times did we watch an NFC Championship game get ripped away from us?
Well, that was a lot.
That was our fan base.
Not recently, because the Eagles have won 3 straight NFC Championship games that they've been in.
Handily.
Yeah, handily. Exactly. So the younger folk isn't used to that. Us, we remember the early 2000s. And so, yeah, it's going to be a fun Super Bowl. I can't wait to talk about it next week. Going to break down that matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot to go over. I'm saving a lot of stuff here I want to bring up because there's some pretty good info with both teams, and especially Kansas City and, the differences from them in 22 to 24 and kind of what they look like this year. So there's a lot to go over, and it should be a fun matchup preview for that game. But
are we going to do our prop bets for next week as well? The over-under of the national anthem, the who's going to score the first touchdown.
We could always do something like that. That's never.
Don't ask me anything about the halftime show. I literally have never cared less about a halftime show.
Me either. Listen, when my team plays in the Super Bowl, halftime is for me to kind of unwind and
Take
eat
a
something.
breath.
Yeah, take a breath
Right.
before the game comes back
But
on.
even if they weren't, I would not. My 15-year-old cares about this halftime show. I could not care any less if I tried.
I never really cared too much about the halftime show, but
I enjoy it.
it's whatever. I kind of lost train. Oh, but the fun thing about going late, if you really think about it too, is after the Super Bowl, and depending on what happens, of course, we'll have a show after and do all that kind of stuff, and maybe get some footage from the parade because that's somewhere I may want to be. You think about it, basically a month later is the start of free agency. It literally comes that fast. So, which is kind of nice because it keeps giving us the content, because we're going to have to start getting into gear with that kind of stuff, because then you have free agency, and then a month and a half after free agency is the draft. So all that stuff starts piling up here, which is nice because it gives us the content we want. So
let me ask you a question at 9:30 on Wednesday night before next week. Is Kellen Moore still our offensive coordinator going into the Super Bowl?
I don't believe they can name him the head coach. I don't believe they can name him. I think they have to wait until after the Super Bowl to name him the official head coach.
So then let me change the question. Will Kellen Moore be the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles next season?
I don't think so. I think he gets the same job. And the one thing I did see too is if he were to be the Saints head coach, he probably brings Doug Nussmeier, the QB coach now, over with him. So which means you lose quarterback coach and offensive coordinator, which you'd have to. And listen, there are some candidates out there that are still out there.
McCarthy will be available.
Yeah, well, he's going to be head coach next year somewhere. But you still have there's some options out there of guys that have been fired, like a Bobby Slowick, a Gerard Johnson's out there. So there's some different options that are out there that I think I would feel a little bit better than what happened after 2022. So, you're still going to have
the other thing that I liked about that was the Saints flew out here to talk to Kellen Moore.
They're not. He's not allowed to go there. They have to come to him.
But didn't Jonathan Gannon go to them last time?
I'm not really 100% sure. Listen, the whole Jonathan Gannon thing sucked because Vic Fangio would have been the defensive coordinator if we would have known Gannon was taking that. He got the Miami job, and again, that's why he left the Miami job.
Saw an unprepared Eagles defense in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, listen, there's a whole lot to that, and I'm hopefully able to forget all of that and everything that happened after next Sunday, celebrating, having some fun. So, we'll break down next Wednesday. We'll break down the preview of Super Bowl 59 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So make sure you join us. Make sure you're following, subscribing, all our socials and everything. Of course, the content's going to keep flowing like it always does. But as we always do, we'll end it with
a super
Go Birds.
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.